Okay, it is day 2, it is September the 3rd, 2015, and we're just going to get right into this. Yesterday was kind of a light opening, so I want to get right into something just you know, a bit more different and unknown to me, and it is this film here, which is called Cœur Fidèle. It's a French film, and it's a French film that is directed by, if you just wait just a little bit, Jean Epstein. Yes, Google Translate. I was trying to figure out the translation. I just thought it'd be funny to just play it. But yeah, Cœur Fidèle, however you want to pronounce it, is from 1923. Yes, it's a French film, and I know absolutely nothing about it. So let's just pop it on and just see what it is, see what it's all about, and soldier on with the silent movie marathon. And today, the second day, I want to get at least 3 films down. I don't want to do a short film either, so I want to get at least 3 good, decent, you know, films down, and yeah, just get deep into this silent movie marathon. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so I'm done watching Cœur Fidèle, True Heart, by Jean Epstein. I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. It was very interesting. It's a very simple story about a girl here, Marie. She has a foster family, mum and dad, who work at a bar, and they employ her to work at the bar, and they don't treat her very well. You know, they run her, you know, ragged, you know, serving guys alcohol and stuff, and they don't seem to really love her that much. And they also kind of insist that she marries this guy called Petit Paul, or Little Paul, who's kind of a rough around the edges guy, man about town kind of person who she's more scared by than attracted to. And there's a great shot in the beginning of the film where she's looking out of the window of the bar, and she's kind of just daydreaming basically, and you have these overlays that shows that she's daydreaming, and then she sees him walking towards her through the window, and the look on her face when she registers, when she kind of pops out of reality, pops into reality, I should say, you know, I feel like it's such a hard thing to convey, and she did it perfectly. And that was one of the things that really stood out in that film, was that tiny moment, just that little moment where she kind of popped back into reality, and I overdid it then, you know. So yeah, really nice acting from the woman who plays Marie, the lead character in the film. And then she moves away from the window, and her face becomes more out of focus. I loved all those little touches that Jean Epstein put into the film. The editing is incredible. The direction is very, very visually interesting. Lots of overlays, lots of you know, like multiple exposure shots. Like you'll see her face in the water as the kind of the waves are washing by, and it's just really hypnotic stuff. Oh yeah, the story. So we have Marie. You know, she's not very independent person. You know, her life is dictated by her parents, her foster parents, and you know, they want to put her in this relationship with Little Paul because, you know, he'll probably do to her what they've done to her whole life, which is dominate her and have control over her. And she doesn't, you know, she's not interested in him, but she is in love with another man called Jean, same as the name of the director. And Jean is a how can I put it? A mild-mannered, you know, just sensitive, sweet, you know, guy, and he loves her very much, and she loves him too. And he tries to go over there and say, "Look, I know, you know, she's not your daughter, but I want to marry her, and I love her." And this causes outrage. You know, how can you try and marry our daughter when we've already arranged it with Little Paul? And this big kind of scene happens in the bar where Little Paul gets involved, and all his friends are there, and they're ready with like knives and shit, like ready to just like throw down. The, you know, Marie's foster father has got a bottle ready to, like, you know, to whip into action. And there's this amazing sequence which is like a precursor to the end of The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, where you just like looking at the close-ups on all the characters' eyes as they're watching, you know, anticipating what the other person's going to do. You get like this extreme close-up on someone's like fist clenched, ready to punch, and you can even see like all the details on the knuckle, and, you know, just fast cutting, and it was really, really interesting. And then I won't see what happens after that, but I love the editing in that scene. And there's another scene where Marie has to go off with Little Paul, and they sell it. Well, he tries to celebrate them being together by going to this carnival, and the carnival's the best scene in the whole film, is where they go to this thing and you see like the hustle bustle, like people having fun and people having the time of their lives, everyone except for Marie, and they're on this big swinging kind of ride, like a little carriages that fly around. They must be, I don't know, 10-20 feet in the air, and there's a great shot where the camera's inside the kind of the seats, I guess, and it's looking at Marie and little Paul, and he's there and he's like, yeah, we just got together, and he's throwing confetti around, people are throwing streamers, and it's like an explosion of happiness, and Marie is sat there just looking completely forlorn, and it's a beautiful scene because it just says so much without saying anything at all, and you see how put out she is by the whole thing, and how he doesn't care about her feelings. He's just, as long as he feels great, then he's gonna celebrate and he's gonna love it. And the fast cutting and the dynamic motion. There's another great shot where the camera's placed in the seat in front of them, and it's filming them, so it's like just the way the camera moved with the action was brilliant in the film. Now, some problems I had with the film. There's a moment where Jean in the film, who's in love with Marie and she's in love with him, he misses her, and he sees a woman walking down the road where they used to meet, and he thinks it's her, and you can tell by looking at his face that he's hopeful that it's her. And then when it cuts back, his face is silhouetted in a love heart, and I thought it was just too on the nose, too cheesy, and it seemed beneath the style of the film. Everything was kind of implied with just the way the actors were reacting and the way the film was edited. Editing is used in this film in such a big way to convey symbolism and what's going on in the characters' heads. That there's touches of surrealism and then realism and all sorts of stuff going on in this film from a directing standpoint and an acting standpoint. But the love heart for me, a bit too much. I wasn't a fan of that part of the film. And then towards the end, like the third act, it got a little bit middling. Like it went on a bit too long. It was displaying the right things, but it was lingering too long on them. There's a scene where little Paul is hearing this music in the street, and his mind is cast back to the day at the carnival, and other stuff happens in that day. I won't say what happens, but you can tell by the overlays and the editing what he's thinking of. But it just lingers on it for like a minute longer than it should, and it just kind of loses my interest a little bit. When you drag it on too long. And I can't look at it and say, well, it was from the 20s, it's a different kind of mode of storytelling. No, I think you can pull off films that can appeal to people 100 years later. You just need to do it right and pace it right. And I feel like it was just lingered a little bit too long on certain moments. And the ending, I was unsure about until the final shot of the film, which was really something. I really liked it because it made me think. And it was, okay, here's the ending that you've been expecting, but perhaps it's not exactly as it all may seem, and I really, really like that. But yeah, great performances. I love the kind of harsh close-ups on some of their faces, and just the way, again, the editing was the real kind of star of the film in a way. But yeah, really, really enjoyed the film. I read actually everything in the booklet. Some of it I just couldn't make much sense of, to be honest, but it's a very good booklet, and of course this is a Eureka Massive Cinema release. It's spine number 19. Great release by Eureka. They actually went to great efforts, it's detailed in the booklet, to present this on Blu-ray as it should be seen. They had 3 options with how they could present the film, and they went for the third most exhaustive kind of option. It's a new high-definition transfer of the film in its original aspect ratio at its true speed and running time on both formats, because the film was 18 frames per second and Blu-ray can't handle 18 frames per second. It has to go to 25, and there's different ways to do it, and you get kind of interlacing and stuff. And so what they did was they put in like kind of duplicate frames here and there, but they removed the ones that they were given and made sure that no frames were lost, and it's it's basically as close to its original presentation as possible. So they went above and beyond with this, and they do with all their titles, especially silent films, in terms of frame rate and original kind of presentations. I don't know, because this is one of the early Massive Cinema releases, like 2011 it says on the back here. I don't know if they've changed this, because I know that the Passion of Joan of Arc Blu-ray has different frame rates. Maybe they've changed the way Blu-rays can be authored now, I don't know. There's some great stills, there's a photo gallery on the Blu-ray, and this one I love. It's the cast and crew while making the film. So you got Marie there, you got little Paul there, and you got Jean there holding the dog, and then the direct. I think this is the director, Jean Epstein, and it's just nice, fun to see like a cast and crew picture from a film this old, you know. And there's another great one where they're really happy and stuff, and you get to see the good guy and the bad guy together, kind of thing. It's kind of cool. I like that a lot. It's just, yeah, some great stuff. And there's some of the writing in the booklet I wasn't really. Some of it went over my head, but there's kind of people talking about Jean Epstein after he died. Abel Gance talked about him. But in the beginning of the booklet, there's a lot of stuff that was written by or was said by Jean Epstein, and it's kind of been translated. And there's some really interesting stuff. Him talking about his process of making Coeur Fidèle and his thoughts on film in general and techniques and editing. He kind of talks about how, you know, D.W. Griffith was doing a lot of these editing techniques before and things like that. And he also talks about you know, how, you know, in the 1923, you know, this fast-paced editing style came into play, and then now we're in 1924, and there's already been 3 films that have copied this, and it's already, you know, out of vogue, and it's already cliched and a la mode, and it's just funny to kind of see a viewpoint from that long ago, where people are already thinking, oh, this is cliched now, you know. So it's like today, superhero film, you know. It's just kind of funny, and he also really takes a shot at the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and really says how it's all style and no substance with all the sets and stuff, and it's all about the lighting and the look as opposed to the story and stuff. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I just wanted to talk about the stuff I was reading in the booklet and stuff, and I love the photo gallery, and the film itself was great. I'll definitely watch it again. Enjoyed it a lot. I like the character of there's this crippled woman in the film, and she's a really like one-dimensional character, and she's just there to just kind of forward the plot really, but for some reason I enjoyed her performance, and yeah, I mean overall I would give it probably like an 8 out of 10, so I'd say what that'd be like about a 4 out of 5. At a push I'd probably go a little bit higher, where I need to see it again, but the carnival sequence in particular was fantastic. There was a scuffle between little Paul and Jean that was edited a bit strangely. That was another thing I didn't quite like. It was a bit incoherent. You know, one minute they're on the floor, next they're up on their feet again, then they're going back down to the floor. It was a bit of a confusion to me as what was actually happening. But overall, I really enjoyed watching it. It was a great kind of interesting melodrama with lots of great editing techniques that really drew me in, and yeah, very poetic kind of film. But yeah, that's it, Coeur Fidèle, and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to watch next, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, before I get on with the next feature film, Connie's come back home. We're about to have dinner, so we're going to watch together another Buster Keaton film, one from the short film collection, and we're about to have an amazing dinner. We have steak, pepper sauce, and potato wedges. Probably one of my favourite dinners of all time. It's going to be amazing. Looking forward to it?
Yeah. No, it is my potato wedges done Connie style.
Your potato wedges done Connie style, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, it's not just, you know, I didn't just put them in the oven.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to watch Daydreams, which is another one I have not seen. Let's do it. Okay, we just got done watching Daydreams from 1922. Very blue PS4 menu screen. Let's just turn that off for a second. There we go. And it wasn't great. I didn't love it. You know, I'm a huge Buster Keaton fan, obviously, but I can't say that everything he's done is gold. You know, there was a few good bits in it, a few good gags and stuff, but ultimately it didn't really hold up very well as a 23-minute short. You know, he's done a lot better work. But the thing was, the story was set around he's got a girlfriend, and he wants to kind of get things going with her, but her father's like, you know, can you even have a career? He's like, yeah, of course I can. I'll go off, I'll get a career, and then I'll come back. And if I can't get a career, then I'll kill myself. And her dad is like, good, I'll give you the gun to do it, which is kind of funny. So he goes off to, you know, make a name for himself, basically, quite similar to the plot of Safety Last in a way with Harold Lloyd. To impress the girl, he goes off to be the big shot, and she gets letters from him telling her what he's been doing, and she kind of has daydreams of what he's doing. He's kind of like stretching the truth of what, you know, he says, oh, I'm a surgeon, and he's really a veterinarian, or, you know, oh, I'm cleaning up on the streets of Wall Street, when he literally is cleaning up the streets. But almost all, I think all of them, all the daydream sequences have been lost, and so there would be a title card saying scene missing of Buster, a fantasy sequence of Buster doing this, doing that. Oh no, there was a Shakespeare one that was still intact and in the film. So as the little documentary on Daydreams that's on the Blu-ray says, you know, that the actual daydreams that are from the title of the short are not actually in the film, and it's still a mystery as to why they've been lost. A lot of story behind it, you know, whether they might have been removed intentionally and censored, they're not sure. But you know, many silent films have been lost. In fact, 85% of all American silent films apparently are completely lost, and some have missing reels, missing footage, stuff like that. And it's quite lucky that all of Buster Keaton's shorts and feature films have still survived, although some of them are in ropey shape. Some of the earlier shorts on the collection itself that I've watched before are in bad condition, but they've done the best they can. I like that they included pictures of the missing scenes, the fantasy sequences. You know, they try their best to kind of give you an idea, and the intertitles were not intact either. They were kind of recreated, and so that kind of, I'm a bit of a purist, so it always is a shame when you don't see the original intertitles either, but I enjoyed it. There's some good stuff. Good to see Joe Roberts in there briefly. There's a great bit where he's running after a tram and he grabs onto it with one hand and his legs are flying up in the air. Another great gag where a fisherman fishes him out of the harbour, and then probably the most famous part of the film is when he's on this big wheel of a ship. You know, the wheel goes around and treads the water, and he's like stuck inside it and he's flipping around and stuff. So some good stuff, but not a great one really. Any thoughts, Connie? Briefly, that's all.
Well, I was kind of distracted with the dinner, so.
Okay, yeah. It's I mean, you've got to cut a steak up and eat it, so you can't keep your full attention. I had to rewind it a few times. I missed a few things.
Yeah.
But you probably agree with me, right? It wasn't that great.
It wasn't that memorable as the other ones.
Yeah, definitely. And a real shame is at the end of the film was his girlfriend's dad kicked him up the arse and sent him flying through the window of the house. Big stunt at the end of the film, but they didn't have the shot of him actually kicking him, so it kind of just jarringly cuts to him flying out the window, and it was actually his dad who played the character, Buster Keaton's dad, and he was famous for doing good high kicks. You know, he used to throw Buster around on the stage when they were like a vaudeville act when he was a kid, you know, so it's a shame that bit was missing. But anyway, it was alright, it was enjoyable enough, but not one I'll probably revisit that many more times, I think. Now I'm going to watch another full film. And this one has the distinction of being the, I can't remember now, if it is the first ever feature-length animated film, or the oldest surviving. I think it is the first, yeah, it's the full first, it doesn't say on the back of the Blu-ray, but I'm pretty sure, 98% sure it's the first full-length feature animated film. And it is The Adventures of Prince Ahmed, which is a German film. It was directed by a woman, and she kind of pioneered, from what I understand, a lot of just animation techniques in terms of, you know, feature-length films, and some of the things she did in this kind of influenced what Disney would do around 10 years later. This is from 1926, and well, I'll just watch it and I'll give my thoughts at the end, so let's go. I'm excited to check this out and to include an animated film in this marathon, and I'm very interested to see how it all plays out. Never heard of this film until recently, so very cool stuff. BFI Blu-ray release. Let's do it. Alright, so I just got done watching The Adventures of Prince Ahmed by Lotte Reiniger, who is she was a female animator, I guess you could say. She started in 1919, and this film came out in 1926. And she was inspired by people like Georges Méliès, and I can definitely see that in this film, just the sense of imagination and just how vivid it is and stuff like that. Actually reminds me of a Méliès film in a way. But basically the animation here is, it's not drawn, it's basically silhouette animation. So if you see this here, this could almost be a still from the film. In fact it might be, but basically this is what it looks like. You have these black silhouetted pieces of cardboard for the characters and for the, you know, the various kind of, you know, bushes, trees, buildings, and then the backgrounds are tinted in different colours. And she basically moved them frame by frame, painstakingly. It took her 3 years to make it. It wasn't the first ever feature-length animated film. There were two before that. One, at least, was a Czech film, I think, but they were lost. This is the oldest surviving full-length animated film. I'll actually just check now while I'm here. Let me see. No. Two earlier films were made in Argentina. I don't know where I got Czech from. So anyway, oldest surviving feature-length animated film is 69 minutes long. No, 67. Just over an hour, and it's split into 5 acts, and it was just amazing, absolutely awesome. The first, you know, 10 out of 10 film in the marathon so far. And honestly, I can't see any other film beating this in terms of pure enjoyment. I mean, I just loved everything about it. Just the first few minutes, I was like, alright, how is this going to work? How am I going to be entertained by a silent animated film with cardboard cutouts? Totally worked though. I mean, there's a bit earlier on in the film where, well, I'll get to the plot and I'll tell you when I get to it. So basically, Prince Ahmed, he's the prince in, well, it doesn't really say where actually, but basically it's kind of loosely based around Arabian Nights. Let me just see if I can get the based on elements taken from the 1001 Nights, specifically the story of Prince Ahmed and the fairy Paro Banu. So yeah, it's got Aladdin is in this and the magic lamp and everything. And but Prince Ahmed, there's a sorcerer first of all, the African sorcerer, and he's made this flying horse in this really trippy sequence. He creates this magical flying horse, and he takes it down to like the king, the caliph, I think his name was, and Prince Ahmed is his son. And he shows him the magic horse, and then he basically tricks Prince Ahmed to getting on the horse and flying off and flying away high up into space. This is where this shot is from in the film. And basically, to fly the magic horse, you pull on there's a lever on top of its head, and Ahmed doesn't know that you have to pull the tail to go down. So the caliph, the king, he's got the sorcerer cornered. He's like, does Prince know that, how to, did you tell him how to get the horse to come down back to earth? And the sorcerer's kind of like, just kind of shrugs, like, I don't know. Like, it was really well done, and I thought, wow, that's impressive to get that kind of articulation out of cardboard cutouts, and the intricacies of the designs of like the buildings and the there's a girl that comes into the film when Ahmed comes back down on the horse. He's in this strange spirit land, and he meets this I forget her name now. He meets this woman. I'll get her name right. Peri Banu, the beautiful ruler of the land of Wak Wak, and she's this like gorgeous woman, and she's got this really like intricate hair, and then later on she has this big headdress, and so all these little tiny details are so impressive. One of my favorite things about the animation was when there's a water scene. There's a scene with like a little deer or something, little animal next to like blue water, and the reflection of the deer is just little strips of cardboard, but like kind of just it just looks really scrappy, but it works. Like it looked like a reflection, and it was just really impressive. The color tinting really put you in just like the atmosphere and the tone of all the different places that the adventure goes on. It is a big adventure film. That's what I loved about it. It reminded me of being a kid in a way, and watching those films that are just these big grand adventures that just have a hero trying to save a princess and kill the bad guy or whatever, and he eventually gets a sword and a bow and arrow, and he has to fight all these spirits, and then there's the fire witch, and all this stuff goes down. It's just brilliant, and the score was incredible. The score really gave it that extra added punch to just tie off the whole thing for me. And afterwards I looked it up, and it was an original score, which is really, really cool, and it adds so much to me to know that the score on this is the score that was there in the beginning. It was made for the film, because most silent films, the score that you see when you get it on Blu-ray or you watch it on YouTube, whatever, wherever they get released, a new score has been composed. People make careers out of composing new scores for silent films, but this was the original score, and it was by Wolfgang Zeller, and it was awesome. I loved it. Well, what can I say really? I just love the imagination. I love the sense of adventure. How the little movements made the characters. You just got what their mindset was. Like at one point, the Peri Banu, she's being forced into a marriage basically, and there's a scene where she's moving away from the person that's trying to become her husband. So you can already tell that she doesn't want to. She's not hesitant, but she's really opposing it. So once that bit's done, you know that she doesn't want to do it. But then later on, there's just a little tiny bit where she kind of puts her hand on her head, like in dismay. And you almost didn't need it, but there was little bits that obviously when you're working with a film, frame by frame, you've got the time to put that detail in. But it took her again 3 years, and I just think it was awesome. Just incredible work, and it kind of became her style. And the animation, it kind of reminded me of the scene in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, when Hermione is telling the story of the Peveril brothers, and there's like an animated sequence. I've got to think and assume that it's based on the style that she kind of pioneered. and she did. I think that's basically what she did the rest of her career, was films like this. There's loads on the Blu-ray by BFI. There's 3 from 1928, a series of 3 short films, and then there's 5 other films from 1921 to 1974. So I'd like to watch them at some point. But yeah, great Blu-ray release by BFI. I'm sure there's a booklet in there as well with, yeah, I mean, just love the colours, so vivid and just brilliant. Great film, definitely 10 out of 10. And I'd say, you know, probably one of my favourite animated films, you know, I put it up there, top 10 probably. Really great stuff. Oh yeah, one more thing, she kind of worked on feature films every now and again. You know, a film would have like a special animated sequence, and one of them I've seen. So I've seen her work before, I just didn't know it. She did a sequence with I forgot what it was now, but it's an animal in the film Die Nibelungen by Fritz Lang, one of my favourite silent films. And I remember the scene vaguely, and so it was really cool to know that she worked on that film with a Fritz Lang film, and that was, I guess, before this came out, but she worked on this for 3 years. Anyway, there you go, enough waffling, enough gushing over this. It's an amazing film. I definitely recommend it to anyone who's interested in animation, silent films, films in general. Awesome, and it's only like an hour and 9 minutes, so it's worth anyone's time. There we go. That's it for now, for day 2, and we'll see what I watch tomorrow on day 3. That's pretty much it. Nothing more to say.